You've heard of Christmas in July, now get ready for Thanksgiving in April! Even though this video is coming out in October. Oh my god. Welcome, esteemed guests, finally, to Tapa's Inksgiving event. Inksgiving is a month-long event to encourage fans and creators alike to support each other with the app's currency, ink. And in exchange, creators would set goals to give their audience rewards if they reach a certain amount of ink. Since this involved donations and money, even though you can earn ink through other means like playing games, I'll be honest, I wasn't expecting much. I joined the event just to see how it would go, and what do you know, I got all of my ink goals met. As for what took me so long to even finish these, I'm usually good at pinpointing what went wrong with this kind of stuff, but I actually have no idea, time just passed. But you can be sure I would not give up on finishing all the rewards, and this video is living proof of that. Now without further ado, let's talk about all of my Inksgiving rewards. The popularity of my characters that I'll keep mentioning was based off of a poll I made on the Tapas Discord server, since everyone who donated ink to me came from there. Unfortunately, the Inksgiving channel is long gone by now, so I don't have any actual proof of the voting process, you just have to take my word for it. What happened was that Lila and Carter actually tied in popularity, which led me to drawing both of them for the first reward. And since I technically already drew 2 characters, I decided that I'd only draw the next most popular character after these 2 to make it make sense. About the drawing, the only thing I had in mind while planning the composition was, how can I make this cool? So I tried playing around with a little bit of perspective, like they're both posing for a camera which happens to be on the ground. And said camera on the ground, as you can see in the speed paint, really confused me. It took me a bajillion tries to get these 2 to actually look at the viewer with the perspective involved, but I'm pretty proud of the end result, so I'd say it was worth it. I wanted to highlight their dynamic together in the story, so I didn't stray too far from their signature faces, and I made the setting a rooftop since that's where they first interacted. One weird thing I struggled with while making this drawing was which weather should it be set in? Like, with Carter present, it would make sense to make it some kind of storm, but with Lila in the picture, I wasn't too sure anymore. In the end, I just landed on a starry night with buildings in the distance. This is the second first goal and the second last reward I drew. Sorry Lola, it took me a while to think of a composition. I feel like Lola is almost a full 180 from the last 2 characters, and while I wanted her to have the same energy as them, it wouldn't really fit her vibe. She's pretty much the most chill character I have, and you'll see soon enough in canon that this sentence says more about the rest of the cast than about her, wink wink nudge nudge, and I wanted to reflect that with her illustration, a cute picture she took at her uni's campus. At first I was drawing this while thinking that it would be either her first day there or something, but it came to my knowledge that there's a whole ceremony in medical universities for the students to receive their doctor's coats, so I decided the aftermath of that event would make much more sense, especially since I was drawing her in her usual canon outfit, which features, you guessed it, her coat. I wanted to practice backgrounds a bit more with this piece, and I took what I learned from drawing Marshmallow Bunny Cookie a while back and attempted to go lineless. Well, lineless is in big quotation marks in this case, since I did outline the borders of the background elements, but I didn't do it with black, because that was going to be exclusive for the character line art to make it pop with that sweet contrast. With some extra details and yellow highlights, the second Inksgiving reward is finished. Since my first episode up until now, I feel like my art has improved a lot from when I started this webcomic, and the first season was taking so long to arrive, so I'd have to make a new cover. I've been itching to redraw my prologue cover for so long now, I just put this goal in there as a chance to have an excuse. Not much was changed in terms of general vibe and composition, but after some brainstorming, some things I did change was the rabbit's pose to look more curious and slightly intimidating, as well as moving the characters closer to the screen so the cover pops out more when seen as a whole. This is just a redraw of the cover after all, so I just focused on exaggerating and changing things I didn't want anymore, so Lila is more freaked out about the rabbit is happier to see Lila, and overall they're interacting way more with each other visually, even with the mirror still in the way. Honestly, I drew this on a generally bad art day, so I made a couple of proportions mistakes here and there, but nothing the good old liquefier couldn't fix. Something I was also really excited to have is the series title made by me from scratch. because the first one was made with Canva, and unless you have Pro, you can't export transparent PNGs from there. But that is no longer a problem for me, baby! Check this out! Okay, so I made a slideshow for explaining the Missing Fragments world building and some organizations your fandom OC could join in this world. If you want to make your own original organization, absolutely go for it. These are just a couple tips to help you get started. Also, I know the official list I made said OC guides and templates, but I only realized later that this would technically be 2 rewards in one, and I already took my sweet time to make this slideshow, so let me have this one, okay? So, general world building. By the time period of this series, around 20% of the world population has enhancement mutations, which is just a fancier and more scientific way of saying superpowers. Even people in world just use the term superpowers. As you can see, that's a very small percentage, mostly because these mutations are fairly new to this world, and so people who develop mutations may adapt to them in various levels. Irregular mutated people have close to no control over their own mutations, so it's activated by means other than the user's will, such as their emotions or general feeling of fight or flight. Common mutations are, as you'll be able to guess, the most common variant you see around. These mutations can be activated at will, though there will be some consequences if used way too much. These are mostly small setbacks related to general tiredness, and soon enough the person will be back and kicking. You'd think adapting more to your superpower would be an advantage, but that honestly depends on perspective. On one side, there are no setbacks to using your mutation since it's technically already second nature, but on the other, this mutation might end up being a substitute for other functions. For example, Aaron's mutation allows him to communicate through old cartoon logic, where no words are necessary, simply body language and some special effects when needed. That being said, because of that, his verbal communication skills didn't develop at all. This is a rather simple example of synchronized mutations. I feel like there's a lot of room to play around in here. And now moving on to the organizations. First up, we have the Power Department, which is pretty much the police focusing on direct combat with mutated criminals. This organization has 3 classes, and the higher you get, the more fame and status you have, since the Power Department members are seen as heroes to all and are pretty much celebrities. The base level is being a B class, achieved either by a test or heroic act, which can then move up to A class through promotion or another test, all the way to S class, where aside from a test, you need a recommendation letter from an active S class. To make this more accessible, the S classes can sign up in a program to take in A classes as work partners for a week, in order to decide whether they are capable of becoming an S class or not. And now moving on to... who let them write in here? And now moving on to the Shadow Pursuers, the vigilante group with the objective to prevent the Shadow Duchess from returning. Though their objective is noble, this group is really informal, mainly due to how small it is in both size and popularity, just as intended. And because of this, there is no regulated dress code or any specific way of entering the group. Since it's so small, simply looking for and finding them with the intention to join their cause is already a pretty big nudge in your favor. Either that or one of them could simply invite you in if they find you useful or trustworthy. Last but not least, we have the theater. This group is only showing up in like Season 2, but their existence isn't too spoilery and I love them, so I decided to add this group here too. From no leads connecting their actions to the actual theater to targets that don't seem to have a pattern at all, the theater is a criminal organization that confounds the police to this day. The big majority of the members of this organization have irregular mutations, including their leader herself, and most of them had decided to wear a generally red color scheme with fancy aesthetics and bow ties to resemble Louise's golden butterfly she uses as an eye patch. This group is pretty strict in a way, in the sense that one can only enter with strict permission of the manager, and once they're in, they usually have a day job working on the theater as a way to hide their real function. For example, Bridget is the main scriptwriter for the theater's original plays while also acting as their strategist in missions. As a passing note, the last reward was an extra episode in both Tapas and Webtoon, so there isn't much to say except go read it, so that's what I'll say, go read it. Also tag me if you decide to make a Missing Fragments OC, I'll be sure to give you a shout out. We're done. Thank you so much for all the support to everyone who donated ink or even just followed me as I go through all these rewards. Comment which reward you were the most excited for or which one was your favorite, and until we meet again!